I, what's really going on? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, going to be taking a look at Dogecoin, DOGE, against US dollar Tether. On the Binance chart, going to be taking a look at the technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be taking a look at some of the key levels I believe Dogecoin is going to be interacting with as we've come across this insane rejection off of some kind of key lower highs. We seem to be printing some sort of similar price action relative to this kind of previous pumps, and so I have some sort of perhaps some suggestions on where price action could take us in the kind of near future here. So jumping right into it, to recap this kind of previous kind of price action from next to nothing, less than a cent, we've rallied aggressively up fast as we possibly could, coming out of accumulation as quick as possible, rallying hundreds of percentages in a very kind of short amount of time. After these kind of aggressive kind of pumps, we have these kind of like really prolonged accumulations kind of thing. So we have the multi 100%, 188%, followed by a good 25 days of accumulation, right? And then we had this 1000% in kind of like 2 days there almost. That was pretty insane in a short amount of time. So you have to have some sort of sell-off and kind of sideways to kind of make up for a pump like that, obviously. So now, after having this kind of 74% retracement, we were bought up and we printed this kind of, we rallied 300%. That's insane. We rallied 300% from that dip in, like 8 days, a little over a week. But we printed, a very technical kind of like lower high kind of thing. Like we got rejected off of the same kind of level we did in the kind of first kind of swing high there in the original kind of 1000% sort of pump. And so that lower high led us into a kind of short-term bearish sort of kind of perspective, which suggested some kind of forecast of sideways. And so, I mean, now we've just kind of more recently come out of this relative kind of period of consolidation for over kind of 2 months, roughly. And so now, after rallying a good, let's say, from the kind of bottom of this breakout, when we finally started to kind of rally from out of it, we pumped over 700% or more in kind of really short amount of time. And from that kind of point, it was roughly, kind of 2 weeks-ish. So a pump like that in a very short kind of period will call for some sideways, some sell-off, some prolonged kind of reaccumulation. But Dogecoin is just ever so bullish, and so I mean this, only 49%, kind of 50% sort of retracement was very quickly bought up, over the course of like only 3 days. Although we printed a kind of more obvious lower high, kind of similar to previous price action back in January, February kind of thing. So we printed this lower high, and we have now kind of fallen, breaking this kind of swing low from the kind of first rejection. And so now we've kind of printed a range that prices could trade in. And so, I mean, I see a sort of similar scenario such as this. So when prices like pump parabolically, we try a better attempt at that. When we pump parabolically, we have this aggressive sell-off. We're quickly bought up again. We rally up, print a lower high, and we trade kind of sideways, find support in between kind of where we got rejected from and where we kind of had the pullback from after a period of time. We pump, rally up again. We have this rejection. We pump up very aggressively, but we print this lower high yet again. So we, continue the rejection, kind of double top-ish. We fall down, print this kind of bottom here, and can kind of continue to trade sideways in a sort of similar pattern. Like say we get bought up kind of around here, and we come back up to the I guess 25-cent kind of range. Does seem like a nice kind of round level. 20 cents there was as well. So 20 cents to 30 cents could even be the kind of significant kind of ideal range that we trade in for a prolonged kind of period of time, potentially, before we kind of take off again and we see some kind of higher highs, because the overall bullishness of Dogecoin is kind of really still very apparent, and it just doesn't seem like it wants to slow down. And so now, when we turn on EngineeringRobo, we see a new perspective kind of come into play here. We have plenty of buy signals down at the sub 1 cent range as we come up out of here. And the more kind of relevant price action, the buy signals present are the kind of like, all these super buy 2, buy 3, all these back here for the pump. We had the hell briefly show where the moon has returned kind of before this sideways accumulation, super buy before the breakout. And we had this buy 4 present for the longest time, but today we finally seem to be seeing a sell 4, suggesting every time that we've seen kind of a sell 4 before, we kind of just see some sort of sideways. So I mean, we have the kind of sell 4, and then 20 days of sideways, you have the sell 4, and then only 8 days of sideways, and then now we see a sell 4, and so we could easily see anywhere from 8 to 20 kind of days of sideways plus almost kind of thing. Although we still have the moon present, super buy present, cloud buy present. So there's still some long-term bullish indicators and suggestions for Dogecoin long-term, but in the short-term, technically, we are quite overbought, and the pullback is to be expected here, and this is when traders take profit from their like 700% kind of gains in kind of quick kind of succession there when they were all accumulating around 5 cents. It's taking profit at 45 cents. Seems like a pretty to be expected sort of move. And so we seem to be interacting quite nicely with these kind of fettuccine lines here. And so I suspect price action could very well correspond with these lines quite nicely, and we could see some sideways very much between kind of these ranges here. And so quite similar to what I was kind of previously kind of referring to, this kind of like 20 cent to kind of 30 cent range, I believe, was going to be quite significant moving forward. If we continue to rally downward, then we could have a kind of more bearish accumulation, and we can come down all the way to perhaps like the 8 cents kind of range there. But that would be if we continue to get rejected. If we survive through this sell 4 with all these other kind of bullish signals, then we could definitely kind of, if we start to hold kind of around that kind of range there, the 20 to 30 cents, then we could kind of be more long-term bullish. But we kind of have to see how we recover from this kind of big rejection here. When we switch to the price of Dogecoin against the relative price of Bitcoin, we see some just as crazy kind of price action. We have this kind of more significant, dip and rejection off of the kind of swing high there. But big bull, but we seem to be printing a, higher high from the kind of like the relative kind of swing high there coming out of accumulation. So this is the kind of the more obvious lower high on the Bitcoin chart from the January February kind of swing high there. That was like the 11 cents, kind of like 9 cents, sort of like I think range when we kind of first got rejected before that kind of multi-month sideways. Now, after rallying so significantly, we had the 46% kind of pullback. We seem to be printing a higher high relative to the initial kind of swing high there, but was suggesting a more kind of like bullish sideways kind of accumulation. So I mean, we did get rejected. This is still kind of short-term bearish, and so some good sell-off and sideways is to be expected. But this higher high, I do believe, is quite bullish in my opinion. When we turn on EngineeringRobo, along with the Fibonacci levels, we see a new perspective kind of come into play. And so I mean, not only do we have kind of these Fibonacci lines kind of suggesting some kind of key levels that price action could be interacting with, we do have this sell 4 attempting to print. And so on both the USDT chart and the Bitcoin chart, the sell 4 on these candles have not closed yet. And so I mean, there's however many hours left in the day, depending on when you're viewing this video. But we always wait for the candle to close to further confirm the buy or sell signal. And so I mean, this sell 4 printing is kind of short-term bearish. It's a suggestion that this is a kind of pretty aggressive sell-off. But I mean, the long-term bullishness of Dogecoin could very much get us to recover out of this, as they still have this moon signal present. Long-term, we're still bullish. Fundamentally, the fundamentals of Dogecoin are kind of more abundant than ever. People are buying and holding this coin kind of no matter what for kind of whatever reason. And so I mean, you kind of just have to go with the flow of things. But from a technical perspective, these pullbacks and these retracements are, not surprising. So I believe, perhaps a bounce kind of between these levels here could be key, kind of to hold. If we were to kind of start finding support, kind of where we are right now, we could very easily come down to this kind of 312 Satoshi level. But I suspect we'll find support kind of between this range of the 0.786, 0.618, and the 0.5 level here. And this seems to be like a very significant range that we could interact with in the short term before we kind of find support and continue upward. Now, when we consider the price of Bitcoin against US dollar tether on the Binance chart, we see a new perspective come into play here. And so now there's lots going on the on Bitcoin. With Bitcoin here lately, we seem to be coming out of a very, very, very insane rejection off of all-time highs, and so this rejection seems to be continuing downward. Traders are panic selling, and they're failing to kind of hold at their kind of key levels, and so they're like trying to they're trying to take whatever gains they can, and so which is to be expected. Take gains whenever you're making them. But this dip, this drop, this fall off is being bought up every chance that it could get all along the way. And so I mean, there's very aggressive wicks, very aggressive buy ups. Like it's ready to pump still. It's still bullish. It's like still being bought. It's bouncing off of key levels, very strong. Although it's just printing all these lower highs, and so I mean, it has to kind of continue downward to kind of go with the momentum of the significance of this rejection. When we consider the fear and FOMO zone, it's all the way up there at 82K again, 82.8. FOMO zone is rising still. I believe the overall long-term bullishness of Bitcoin is ever so abundant, but in the short term, some sideways is still healthy for it in the long term. And so I mean, we've been kind of sideways now, if we consider this, still sideways for 2 months. And so I mean, we could very well see another kind of couple weeks to a month of sideways between all-time highs, what was all-time highs around 64, 65 kind of K, and probably much around oh, look at that, we've even wicked into the high 48s, 540Ks, 48K there. So I mean, if we start trading within the 40Ks, we could very much look to find support around kind of 47K, 48K seems to be the last significant kind of area of support there with price action. We can very easily kind of fall down below to the low 40s, but I do believe 40K at the very, very minimum is going to be a very significant bottom. I don't suspect that we can kind of come all the way down to these levels, but you never know. In crypto, we very well could. Prices could very well kind of accumulate kind of like this. We could very well find support here and spike up gradually, insane, like come up less gradually and come up quite vertically. You never know. With Bitcoin and crypto, we have a sell for present, so this sideways could be like a present until the kind of buy for returns. When we consider Dogecoin against the price of US dollar on a different chart, different exchange here, just for example, we have what do we see here? We have Dogecoin all the way up in the FOMO zone, concealed by this this red coloration here. The FOMO zone, plenty of FOMO here. Doge traders are buying tops. They're FOMOing in. They're causing the pump, causing the rallies, and so I mean, this is where these aggressive multi-100% pumps are coming from. And so I mean, fear to the FOMO zone trading would get you pretty much, if you're buying from back in November of 2020, around 0.002 cents, you'd be up, 490%. Say you sold as soon as you got into the FOMO zone, you'd be up 400%. But if you kind of traded until kind of where we are now, you'd be up a solid, more than more than 17,000 kind of percent if you traded at that perfect kind of top there. But you still be up 8,000% if you sold right now. And so I mean, there's plenty of traders selling and taking profits in the but there's also plenty of traders holding. Now watch out, FOMO zone. Watch out for EngineeringRobo's buy and sell signals. Watch out for the changes in momentums. Will we recover from this rejection and pullback? Are you going to buy the dip Check out all the social media down below. Subscribe here on YouTube and tune in for the next one.